This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report retro style, the very old days when I used to do this program by myself. But Seth Merrill will be here in just a couple of moments. Slight delay for Seth Merrill on the Handicappers Report. He will have all your Finger Lake selections later on this morning, and I'll do Parks. But a couple quick notes. Obviously, the Big A canceled yesterday. What was brutal weather for upstate New Yorkers and very windy. They canceled early in the morning down at the Big A, and over the last many years, I think you've seen that cancellations at NYRA come earlier than the old days when we used to think they'd always try and get the early daily double in before canceling. But 8 o'clock hour yesterday, the Big A canceled. High winds yesterday, and I don't know how cold it was in New York City. Of course, a couple of the football games, it looked brutally cold, and we had an awful weather day yesterday. Yesterday also happened to be my wife's birthday, and I was like, this is probably going to be the coldest one on record. Just a tough weather day. Apparently, we're not done yet. Maybe we'll have some snow for Thanksgiving on Thursday afternoon, and obviously, this is a great week in horse racing, and maybe fair to say the last great week in the thoroughbred world for a little while. I mean, you're talking coast-to-coast action. The last big weekend, I think it's fair to say, in New York until the Wood Memorial and the return to Grade 1 racing. We'll have the Cigar Mile this weekend on tap, the last Grade 1 in New York. Of course, the Grade 2 Remsen with honor code. Many, many, many eyes will be turned to that terrific 2-year-old coming out of the Chuck McGahee barn, the Demoiselle, and other racing. And being 2013, the 25th anniversary of what used to be the NYRA Mile, and a very intriguing story on DRF.com going back to the inaugural NYRA Mile, which for 49er was his prep race for the Breeders' Cup Classic run at the Big A. In I think it was late October. It had to be late October at the Big A. That was also the jockey strike was going on, and Willie Fox got the mount on 49er. And Precisionist, who was well into his comeback by then, was in that race, and it was a $500,000 race. And I've said this before. Matter of fact, the purse went up rapidly for the NYRA Mile because 2 years later, when Quiet American was kept out of the Breeders' Cup Classic and Gary Jones put him in the NYRA Mile, which was held at, I think, Belmont Park that year, I have to double-check that, Big A, and ran a hole in the win, I think 132 and change to prove his point. I think in 1990, the NYRA Mile might have been worth north of $600,000 in only its third year of existence. Instantaneously a hit, a late season 1 mile race, and then obviously in 1994, the unheralded at the time Cigar put in just a tour de force effort under Jerry Bailey, and a couple of years later they renamed the race for the magnificent Hall of Famer Cigar. Been some fantastic renewals through the year. Discreet Cat putting up the track record a couple of years ago. So that will be and this year figures to be an outstanding edition of the Cigar Mile. But down at Churchill Downs, they'll have a big weekend of racing, culminating with their 2-year-olds going a mile and a 16th, both the fillies and the colts, as they look with an eye towards the future, and the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby down the road out in Southern California. Over 20 years ago, they started the Turf Festival over Thanksgiving weekend. Now, their biggest races are the Hollywood Starlet and the Hollywood Futurity, but that will be in late December in our final meeting at Hollywood Park. But they will have a terrific weekend of racing on the turf. South Florida will have big stakes action. We've gotten underway at the fairgrounds. In case you missed it over the weekend, Thanksgiving Day will not be opening day at the fairgrounds. They are already underway. Friday was opening day. had inclement weather. The racetrack started off as sloppy. They didn't have any scheduled turf racing for opening day, but it started off as sloppy. Did get to good by the end of the racing day. And on Saturday, they had 3 scheduled turf races. The only one that went was the stakes race, the Mr. Sulu Stakes, and I've commented on this before at the fairgrounds. The rails were up at 25 feet at the fairgrounds to kick off the meet. And when the rails are up 25 feet at the fairgrounds, boy, it makes for an extremely, extremely narrow course. I don't know that I've ever seen a turf course as narrow as the fairgrounds when they put the rails up at 25 feet. But they are underway at the fairgrounds. But Thursday will be the Thanksgiving Day handicap. And that kicks off for them what is a very underrated sprint series. I think they have 4 dirt sprint races at the fairgrounds for older horses through the winter time, as they will wrap up in late March with their $1 million Louisiana Derby. Also over the weekend, in case you missed it, and years ago it was easy to miss it, but nowadays with the internet, it just the international world of horse racing is so much easier to follow. And for the first time in their history, the Japan Cup, which, you know, to me, other than the Arc, is one of the longest, most distinguished international races of the year. I always thought that it became to the forefront quicker than the Melbourne Cup. And for the first time ever, we had back-to-back winners. Gentle Donna scoring a victory, needed the photo finish camera this year to win back-to-back runnings of the Japan Cup, becoming the first runner ever to do that. And folks, there have been some very, very prestigious winners of the Japan Cup, whether it's Pilsudski or Singspiel. The Japan Cup came to my forefront many, 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 many years ago. I don't remember the first running, but I remember the second running in 1982. When I say remember it, I remember finding out about 2 days later the results. Why? Because John Henry had left the friendly confines of Southern California and went out to the Japan Cup. I'd never heard of such a thing, anything even remotely close to it. John Henry got whooped that day, but I always remember the winner was half iced. What I didn't remember for the winner, Stanley Huff trained half iced, and we thought about Stanley Huff in the last years of his training for having good 2-year-olds, precocious, and then selling them. But half iced in 1982 went out to the Japan Cup and beat John Henry and others for the Firestones. That kicked off. That was the second running of the Japan Cup. But John Henry, who was a rock star in the early 80s, he really put, for me and probably many others, the Japan Cup on the map. Bobby Frankel won it once with a horse named Pay the Butler, who we saw come to New York and win. So Gentle Donna becomes the first ever back-to-back winner of the prestigious international running of the Japan Cup. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Seth's made it. Have no fear, all you Finger Lakes fans. So we'll be right back.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest. I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV network.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. No truth to the rumor that Seth is hiding out because of his New York Jets. He has made it. He has made
Not
it.
that I don't want to.
He's made it back safe and sound.
I said to somebody over the weekend, about a week and a half ago, either the Post or the Daily News had an article, and they went game by game through the rest of the season, saying, well, Jets can win this one, Jets can lose this one, and then the final was they make the playoffs. They just said, and I'm reading thinking, well, this is plausible. And then, that was before last week's game, so now last week's game, this week's game. And I thought, they did it again. They pulled me in. They do it every year. About halfway through the season,
Yes.
they're okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's two ways of looking at the glass. Many people thought the Jets would be one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's clearly not the case, but you're right. That's a good analogy. Okay, you're giving up on the season in August. Then you're like, they pique your interest. You're like, well, wait a second. Maybe we got some stuff going on here. Then you're like, no, we're just the Jets. Just end the season, but no, a little traffic, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was crazy today. I've run into some traffic out there on the thruway. I guess there was a bad accident between 25 and 24. And I've run into traffic before, and you get to 25, and then it holds up. Well, this became a parking lot about 2 or 3 miles before 25 on the Amsterdam side.
Not a problem. I just touched on the, obviously we canceled at the Big A yesterday, I'm sure.
And I heard you talk a little bit about Gentle Donna. That was a nice performance
well,
there, in a thriller.
A very
Ryan Moore, again, who had the big day at the big couple of days at Breeders'
I'll tell
Cup.
you what, you can, we only get to see, Ryan Moore basically once a year. You can tell that, he's in the right barn, but you can tell because we've seen him. I think he had Midday a couple years ago, the first year Midday, won the Breeders' Cup Turf out at Santa Anita. He sort of was not an unknown, but certainly wasn't in the upper echelon of the European jocks that we're used to seeing. But he's really at the top, and I don't get into a lot of the background stories or the press conferences, but I did watch many of the press conferences following the Breeders' Cup. They moved him into the Chandelier Room. They had some good things, and Sir Michael Stout was talking about him, and
Ryan himself not much of a talker.
No, it's not his ballywhack. He's young and maybe he'll get better at it, but he's not. But he's really moved up. And what I thought I was trying to take with the Japan Cup, Seth, I was saying that for me, because of John Henry. John Henry went there for the second one. No one ever heard of stuff like this. Who had ever heard of the Japan Cup? It was the second one. And nowadays, obviously, thankful to the internet and sites such as Seth's, it's easy to follow international racing, except what I like to call the black hole, which is French racing. They just seem to really want, there's like 30 magnificent races in France, and I don't think Inspector Clouseau could find them by hook or by crook, but the rest of the world, you get it. I've talked about this before. What was it, 2 years ago, maybe 3, I actually tweeted about it. So Dane Dream, I think, became the first to win the Hong Kong Vase, and I've told this story on this network that I'm watching the race at 2:30 in the morning on my computer, and it is the most brilliant picture, colors, and we've talked about it before about
Hong Kong does
the
everything
jog
right.
the Hong Kong club does in getting information out, the timing. I've said it before. Picasso said it first. Just steal it. Just copy what they do.
Yeah, but I'm sure you mentioned it, Gentle Donna, a very good horse over there in Japan. The dud was Joshua Tree coming out of the Canadian International runs last on Saturday.
And it's funny because he's won the Canadian International 3 times, was runner-up the 4th time, but the turf comes up really unique, etc. I don't know how transferable his form
you go beyond that unique record in the international, and he isn't necessarily a superstar, but it's still running last is a little bit.
Well, I think John Henry ran like awful. I'll look it up at one of the breaks, but he ran awful. But a great job. And I was saying, it's a faraway land in a time of year when maybe we're not dialed in, but take a look someday at the roster winners of that race, and remember that Kent DeSormo stood up on Kodashan in '93 before the finish line, or he'd be on that winner's circle. Well, it's not.
And we have to pay attention coming up next week. Japan Cup Dirt, Pants on Fire. Will give us a U.S. rooting interest.
Didn't they used to run them on the same card?
That's what I thought when I was reading. They're a week apart. I'm not sure they're the same card, but I think they were only like maybe a day away. They were much closer than a week, whatever it was. But it may have been the same card. All right. First at Parks this afternoon is going to be a conditional claiming event, $10,500 to $12,500. Non-winners of 4 lifetime, 3 and up, going 5.5.
And somebody has to do websiting the best. For racetracks, parks. I'm on their site, folks. They're running today, as far as I can tell. 253, ladies and gentlemen, kicking it off. This week's Parks action for me, number 5 is JC's Dream, and we certainly hope that is the case for us. Only 1 for 12 lifetime at Parks, but a running style that has shown some versatility, whether it's sprinting or rooting. This horse was going 2 turns and has been gradually shortening up the sprints, and today gets 5.5. And one of the things the difference between 7 and 6, and certainly 5.5 for a horse who I think is going to come from off the pace is, yes, it's a shorter race, but it's about pace, and it's about horses decelerating, and you get a big chance in here. I mean, we're very familiar with horses who are powerful one-run closing sprinters, and it very, very infrequently transfers to rooting. But JC's Dream, my top pick in the opener from Parks. For second, we have Money in Action, a good front-end type of runner, trying to make it third victory lifetime with Stu Elliott aboard. And for third, number 3, Light the Night, who is 8-1 on the board here, ladies and gentlemen, and I think can get a small piece of the puzzle. The first question that I have for the connections are, how are we going to run today? Like the spring and summer. And I don't mean how we're going to run today finish. What type of running style are we going to employ? So 253 in the opener.
Have a nice little maiden claimer in race number 2, $20,000 to $25,000 tags. These are 2-year-old fillies. Again, they'll go 5.5.
Yes, 365, ladies and gentlemen. 4-Star Princess gets my top pick, 7-2 on the morning line, scheduled to make the 5th start this afternoon. After the second one was claimed for $15,000 from the Michael Pino barn, has followed that up with back-to-back hit-the-board efforts after leaving the 2 starts at Delaware. This horse was nearly 20-1. The 2 starts at Parks, let me look at this, 8-5 and 6-5. Neither time the favorite, while finishing 3rd and 2nd. Let's hope we keep the progression going forward with number 3, 4-Star Princess. For second, scheduled to make the career debut, and I'm trying to think that, Seth, in about a year, we might hear that this will be one of the words added to the English lexicon, because I never heard of the term selfie, and now I hear it 15 times a day.
It made the dictionary.
It did already make it. It already did.
That yearly thing came out where they,
See, that shows you that I'm like 6 months behind, because
this was within the last 2 weeks.
Okay, then I only feel 2 weeks behind the time, because it's a term I never heard before, and I just can't stop hearing it, but it's already made the dictionary. So selfie, a first-time starter, an offspring of War Champ. For third, number 5 on the opposite side of the English language, a mark of punctuation and ellipse. This horse lost the career debut out of a good heat by a nose at 3-1, was claimed for $25,000, and I have to say, I think the camp is going, ouch, we might have lost a good one, and the new connection is going, yay, we lost by a nose, we still get to keep the condition. 3-6-5 in the second.
Race number 3 at Parks this afternoon. We're down in the basement for a plain vanilla $5,000 claimer. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. They will go 1 mile.
7 betting interest in here, ladies and gentlemen. 3-6-2. Paul's Bourbon Baby comes off of a nice second place finish, going the 2-turn mile effort. Tries to come right back in here. We draw a good post position once again for a horse who has hit the exact end. 3 out of 5 lifetime at Parks. Move slightly forward for Tricia Farrell after that effort on August 29th. We find the winner's circle, hopefully at $10 for second. Number 6, the damage is done. We certainly hope not. 2 races back, scored at this level, at this track, at this distance for Tricia Farrell. And for third, number 2, Ain't Nothing But a Kiss. scored an impressive victory while making the pace at nearly 10-1 in a dated 5-claimer. Now runs in an open 5-3-6-2 in the third.
Race 4 at Parks this afternoon is a calendar condition claimer. Claiming tag $7,500. These are 3-year-olds and up. They will go 3/4 of a mile.
6-3-4, my selection's in here, and James Nicholson sends out the 6 off of a 5.5 furlong effort, which was the first shortening up effort, shortening up after a 7.5 furlong 2-turn turf effort. And I think they just ran this horse at 16-1 off the feet, just ran away from this runner. But the offspring of Spicetown never quit, kept churning, did make up a little ground. Now comes back 16 days later for second. Number 3, there goes Vinny, coming off of a second-place finish at double-digit odds, going 7 at Parks in a dated 75. For third, number 4, Closing Vision. Frankie Pennington retains the mount on this runner. He did score a victory going 5 last September. Now, how often do you see this, Seth? No matter where you're talking. The horse ran in a stakes race, and I don't know it, but I'm going to take a guess that it's the Marshall Jenny Stakes for Pennsylvania breds on September 8th, 2012. Next start, September 7th, 2013, comes back in the same stakes race. But unfortunately, wasn't able to defend. Good early speed, has been chucking it recently, but they have been in strong pace races. His pace might not be that hot for Frankie Pennington, who was obviously dynamite at Parks. 6-3-4.
Race number 5 at Parks this afternoon, conditional claiming event, claiming tags $14,000 to $16,000. Non-winners are 2 lifetime the condition. Fillies and Mares 3-year-olds and up, 1 mile.
And we'll be down inside 167, ladies and gentlemen. The Rage Girl gets my top pick, taking on winners for the first time in the 5th career start. After breaking the maiden in the 4th start, an example of a runner for me. First 2 races, it didn't show very much. Then a marked improvement in the 3rd, and then the winner's circle in the 4th. You happen to draw a good post position down inside, going the 2-turn mile at Parks. So number 1, the Rage Girl, who is 12-1 on the morning line while taking on winners for the first time. For second, number 6, Sour Time, comes off of a second-place finish for Ned Allard in a restricted claiming race at Penn National. That most recent start was in early October. Has only been off the board once in 6 tries at Parks. For third, the outside, number 7, Glorious Hayden, a good second-place finish after exiting a race where they lost the jockey 1-6-7. By the way, did you see, because you liked Concave in the Breeders' Cup, right?
Yeah.
Like me, we both liked him after the horrible incident. It was the horse, besides the fallen horse, most severely injured, came back and ran third at least. A little something. Looked to have a little late interest, so I wouldn't lose hope on Concave developing its distances.
Talked with Don Stevens, and I got Don Stevens on today. We're going to go through some of those races.
Okay.
But we talked to him on Friday, and he said it. My partner Steve Vick has said it in the past. That Delta down surface can be a little quirky. It's a little sandier than some tracks, so some horses like it better than others. So a 3rd place.
I liked what I saw, because sometimes you come out of those type of efforts, the horse is spooky, and wasn't going to win, but didn't quit. I liked it, so keep Concave in your mix.
All right, we will shift now to Park's 6th race for this afternoon. Another conditional claimer, 7,500 tags. Non-winners are 3 lifetime the condition. 3-year-olds and up, going a mile and 7.
Especially as we try and find a 2-year-old filly champion for 2013. 4-2-6, Hornbuckle gets my top pick. Horse has been running consistently very, very well back in the Charlie Colissimo barn. This horse, as I said, very, very consistent. I know it has a porous 1-for-10 record this year, but the 3 most recent efforts strong enough for me to move forward. For second, number 2, Tony 13. This horse has been around for a while. Mario Serre sends out this runner who doesn't win very many races at Parks, 1 for 11, but in the 10 losing efforts, he's hit the board 7 times. This has a consistent mid-pack type of running style. I think is going to sit a very, very good trip. The type of trip and the situation right now where I would begin to think, Tony 13 at 6-1. If it isn't today, when? For third, number 6, Market Strike. Claimed this past February down in Kentucky. Had 2 races at Indiana Downs. Now Guadalupe Preciado sends out this runner for the 3rd start out of his barn at Parks. And this is Jorge Vargas, not the Juan Vargas who said, I don't know if you saw it, but the Potomac River paid over $90 at Churchill Downs. And I said, you see that, but if you watched how horrible a trip he had in a full field at the longest price, and Juan Vargas, because you often see him J.P. Vargas, and in New York we've seen Jorge Juan A. Vargas, but as rare a happening in the River City, was it the River City Stakes at Churchill? I mean, gets wiped out by Skyring right out of the gate. So you're thinking 45 to 1, what chance do I have? Well, under Juan Vargas, a good chance.
The last couple of weeks, all across the country, there have been some crazy prices.
Oh,
but
yes.
led by Churchill. This Churchill meet is inexplicable half of the time. And there was another one of those, you and Jeff were in there talking about that, the horse that would have been tough to play with somebody else's money. And there was a similar scenario the very next day with a kind of a hobby horse, owner-trainer combination.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was the very next day, the same scenario.
I mean, the Michael Gorman, and I just said, things happen. What I'm saying was, at the 3 ace pole, I wouldn't have taken 200 to 1 on the horse. Forget, like, when the latches sprung. Oh, my goodness.
It has been a quirky Churchill meet. All right, the Parks race, racing 7th today, is an allowance non-winners of 1 other than. These are 3-year-olds and up, going a mile.
8, 10, 3, ladies and gentlemen. The 11 and 12 are also eligibles, but Cantona for Trisha Farrell gets my top pick, coming off of 3 consecutive hit-the-board efforts, with the 2 most recent one being 2 turns and runner-up position. This horse has an affinity as an offspring of Benchmark for rooting for a second. On the outside of the main body, number 10, Caliparty, making only the 2nd start since July, first one since the first day of autumn, first one since the $30,000 claim. For third, number 3, Sky Blue Magnolia, going out for Trisha Farrell, a horse who has a strong affinity for Parks racing and a good off-the-board finish most recently at this level. 8, 10, 3 in the 7th.
Race number 8 at Parks this afternoon, an optional claiming event, claiming tags, $40,000. The condition on winners of 3 other than. 3-year-olds and up, 6.5 furlongs.
275, ladies and gentlemen, my selections, and Major Highway gets the top pick for Trisha Farrell. Hopefully it'll be a very good day for us. This horse is in career best form right now, just scored by a nose in the previous 2X level. For second, number 7, going out after just getting beat. Brutal beats the 2 most recent efforts. Got beat by a neck going 6.5, got beat by a neck going 6. Guadalupe Preciado tries to make it the 3rd time the charm this afternoon. And for third, number 5, 2 T's at 2B. Ned Allard takes over the training, 1 race back, an 8th place finish, where just a welcome to the barn type of effort for me. And I expect to see a better improvement today. But this is a very, very tough heat in this afternoon's feature. 275.
The finale today at Parks is a calendar condition $5,000 claimer, 3-year-olds and up, 7 furlongs.
3, 4, 8, my picks in here, and Tomcat Alley, he gets my top pick, a former Trisha Farrell runner, but claimed out for 12-5 on June 23rd. Took some time off, has had 3 autumn races since that claim. The most recent one, a barometer for going forward, the best of the 3, got beat as the even money favorite in a dated 5 claimer. For second, not right next door in the starting gate, but 2 over, as the 1A is in between the 3 and the 4. Waking up, we certainly hope so, at 6 to 1. Second start since May 6th. And for third, let me turn the page here, number 8, Armed Intelligence, making the first start since March 23rd, when this horse was going well in the wintertime and then seemed to go south. The last 2 efforts, very, very poor. You go to the sidelines, I think it's reasonable to conclude that something was going wrong. And going 7/8 this afternoon as a comeback for a horse who was very sharp previously. 3, 4, 8 in the finale.
All right, that puts Parks in the books. We'll take a break. When we come back, Finger Lakes for this Monday afternoon. Stay tuned.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Listen to what people are saying about the Clubhouse Racebook.
I've been coming here for well over 30 years to the OTB, and I think this is an outstanding facility. Probably comparable to something you'd see in Vegas. They have the big screens there, and then they have the auxiliary screens for, watching all the tracks. And the primary tracks of the day, they'll switch to the big screens, which is ideal for most of us race guys. We like to see the big races on the big screen. Well done.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I am Anthony Mormino. Parks racing in the books, turning our attention to Finger Lakes on this Monday morning, 1 month out from Christmas. We have 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, claimers in for $4,500, non-winners of 4 races a lifetime, kicking it off, going 1.70 miles.
I have it 1, 3, 5, and 6. I'm going to box up my top 2 in here, the 1 and the 3. There won't be much value, but we'll keep it a small box and see if we can get the day started out with a little bit of a winning ticket. The number 1 is Wheel Talk, 9 to 5 on the morning line, and a pretty solid move on the win on the move to Finger Lakes. Came in from Canada, had been racing at Woodbine this summer, and then most recently at Fort Erie. I said a few weeks ago, once that Fort Erie track closed and we started to see some Fort Erie shippers, wanted to see, first couple get a barometer. Well, it seems like the Fort Erie shippers are moving over successfully, and Wheel Talk was a pretty nice winner on that move. Now moves up a condition, but I think off of that first win here at Finger Lakes will be competitive in this bunch. Grace's Nene in the second spot. This horse just looks second best to me on the most recent numbers. Pretty consistent on those numbers going back the last 3 starts. And again, think this one is going to be a good fit. So those 2 look absolutely logical to me as compared to the rest of the field. Won't be much, but we'll take a little shot here. Now, that said, do watch out for Terry Teresa. If you get some odds, maybe throw that one into the mix. I don't think the odds will be big enough to take that shot. But I note here, Terry Teresa looks like the speed. And we had Tony Kalo on the show last week, and we were talking about last Monday how speed was king up there at Finger Lakes. And Tony talked about this time of year, the cold weather, it'll tighten up the track in the morning, and it makes it more conducive to speed. Now, things shook out in the other direction on Tuesday, but Tuesday wasn't quite as cold as today is. So the cold weather may, if things do tighten up, that speed could be tough again today. Terry Teresa, in that case, starts to become very, very attractive. But again, I'll box up my top 2. Hope that things turn out to be a little unbiased on the track today. We'll see, though. In the opener, I have it 1, 3, 5, and 6.
Now, does Uncaptured count as a 40-year shipper in statistical analysis?
Well, I think he'd probably do okay at Finger Lakes.
On to the second half of the early daily double. 2-year-old fillies, maiden claimers in for 15, racing 6.
2, the 1 entry, 7 and 3. The number 2 is Rockin' Spur. Showed life in maiden special weight company in the first 2 starts, a second and a third place finish. I think now the significant class relief moving into the maiden claiming ranks should wake this horse up. 8 to 5 on the morning line. Again, master of the obvious, but it's hard to go against that class move. Second spot, the 1 and the 1A. I think both halves of the entry look live. Showed a little bit, the plain one, under, over. A little bit of life in maiden special weight. Last time, not so much, but sometimes there'll be a little regression off of the first start. The first start, I thought, was good enough to toss this one in, again, with that class relief. And then the 1A White Rapids, a first-time starter by Posse. A little bit of interest there on the nature side of things. This one did have a sibling called the Black Cloud that was 10th, then 2nd, then 1. Another sibling called Source of the Nile, 8th, then 4th, then 1. So both siblings took 3. If they can win within the first 3, that says to me they can be a little bit precocious. But again, those siblings weren't getting it done first time out of the box, but keep that in mind. So the 1 entry, interesting. And then the number 7, Sober Night. This is the dam's first foal, so couldn't find too much there. But in a race like this, you can do worse than take a shot with a fresh face. So just went with the first-time starter in here in a field that I don't think is particularly strong at this maiden 15 level. In the second, I have a 2, the 1 entry, 7, and 3.
And after today, 10 live race cards at Finger Lakes. No racing on Thursday, but they're nearing the end. They have 11 cards going forward. On to the third, 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $4,500, and we're going to hear this condition for the next 4 races in a row for me. Non-winners since May 25th, 6 months, going a mile 70.
1, 5, 2, and 4. The number 1 is Bullnose Brick. Tossed in a complete dud last time. These are the kind you just don't quite know what to do with. In that, are they just going in the wrong direction? But it was a sloppy sealed track, and it was enough of a dud that it looks like an aberration. I'm looking for this horse to rebound with the class relief today. So Bullnose Brick on top with a little bit of trepidation. Elpidio, the 5-horse, looks like an okay fit with this bunch. Just has been bouncing around this 4,500 conditional level for the past few starts. The numbers seem to fit with these, and I think, again, looking at the complexion of the rest of the horses in this field, I think Elpidio is going to be a good fit. And then the number 2, Lemon Peel. Again, not quite sure what to do with this one. This one took the significant drop to 45 conditional last time and showed nothing. So I'm a little concerned about that this is a horse going in the wrong direction. But the races just before that were certainly good enough to fit with this bunch. I'll give Lemon Peel one more shot before I give up. In the third, 1, 5, 2, and 4.
On to the 4th race, 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and Mares, Claimers in for $4,500. Also non-winners in 6 months, going 6.
6, 1, 4, and 8. The number 6 is Saturday Night Sandy, and Saturday Night Sandy just has the best recent numbers. Now, that's not to say some of these other horses aren't showing comparable numbers. They're just going back a few races. So Saturday Night Sandy, just on recent form, seems to be maybe in the best condition of this bunch. So Saturday Night Sandy, a slight edge for me in this field. Samzilla, the number 1 horse. This is one where the numbers are going in the wrong direction over the last 3 starts. But again, last time just looks a little too bad to believe. There was some traffic trouble. I'm going to look for a rebound up into the 40s buyer-wise. This horse does have some back class as well. So again, I'm looking for a little bit of a rebound off of the last race. And if we get closer to some of those prior numbers, Samzilla will be in the mix. And then the number 4, Warrior Lass. Go down the past performances, just draw a line through that 1 mile try, 3 starts back. And the sprint numbers most recently have been pretty consistent. Another effort in that area puts Warrior Lass right in the mix here. So in the 4th, 6, 1, 4, and 8.
On to the 5th race this afternoon. We have 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $4,500. Non-winners of 3 races in the last 6 months, going a mile 70.
This was a tough race for me. One of those races where I think you can make cases for and against a bunch of them. As noted earlier, if the cold weather does tighten things up and it becomes speed conducive, the number 8, City Genius, could be really interesting. I didn't use that horse in my mix. Roberts Breach also has some speed. Excuse me. I went 6, 10, 1, and 4. But again, I think this is a wide open kind of race. Dahlgren Chapel on top, just in some pretty good form. Won the past 2, nice second before that, a couple of close-up thirds. So in the last 5 starts, right there in the hunt in all 5 of them. So again, just in some pretty good form right now. Dahlgren Chapel on top. Number 10, Foo Pegs Baby. Another one that is going well. Will be heard from late, but again, watch early. if the track gets to be a little bit conducive to speed, Fupeg's Baby could be up against it, because this is definitely a horse that likes to come from off the pace. But if it's playing kind of fair, look for Fupeg's Baby in the lane. And then the number 1, Awesome Mitch. Beaten favorite last time, but certainly that had to be a wide open race, a field of 6, and as the favorite, 3-1. So again, it had to be a competitive field, but this horse was the beaten favorite, and the 2 starts just prior to that, I think, were good enough to be right up in the mix here, at least number-wise. So I'm going to give Awesome Mitch another shot here. But again, in a tough, wide-open 5th race, I wound up 6, 10, 1, and 4.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from Finger Lakes.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I'm Anthony Mormino, up to race number 6 from Finger Lakes this afternoon. We have 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $5,000. Non-winners of a race in 6 months. Going 6 furlongs.
3, 6, 4, and 1. The number 3 is Magnificent Wreck. Magnificent Wreck has won 3 of the last 5. I think if you look at the numbers, they have just maybe a little bit of an edge on certainly most of these in this bunch. This horse can be up close to the pace. That could be beneficial today. I think Magnificent Wreck is the one to put on top. Second spot, the number 6, Straight Thunder, has hit the exact at Finger Lakes over half of the time, 7 times in the exacta in 13 starts at Finger Lakes. Last couple, again, number-wise, fit very nicely with my top pick and have probably an edge on the rest. And then Barossa. Again, I've mentioned if the track tightens up and does play to speed today, Barossa could be the one we have to catch because looking at the rest of the field, the number 1, Our Brave Warrior, shows some speed. Trackman Star can show some speed, but I think the speed in here will turn out to be Barossa. Short field of 6, if things do lean towards speed as they did last Monday, Barossa could prove to be tough in here. But in the 6th, I have a 3, 6, 4, and 1.
On to the 7th race. We have 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $4,500. Let me read my notes here. Non-winners of 3, 2012, 2013, or non-winners of 2, 2013, dashing 5.5.
1, 6, 3, and 5. The number 1 is Blues Powerhouse. Just in some good form with nice improving numbers. A couple of second-place finishes, bookending a first place. Has some nice early speed, certainly will flash that from the rail. And again, good improving numbers, good form, nice speed, all could add up to make Blues Powerhouse very dangerous this afternoon. Second spot will go out to the number 6, Brooklyn Red.
Solid in the last couple of starts, a couple of nice numbers, a couple of nice finishing positions. So I think Brooklyn Red, again, if we're looking at that sine curve for form, I think this one is probably on the upswing and will run well again today. And then Steady Stewart. Again, speed could be dangerous, and this one, adding the blinkers today, might turn out to be the one to catch. So Steady Stewart, as I say, Blues Powerhouse has some speed. We'll show it from the rail, but with the blinkers added today, it's going to be interesting to see going that first furlong who winds up getting the edge, because Steady Stewart could prove to be difficult on the front end. In the 7th, 1, 6, 3, and 5.
And a pair of allowance races to close out the Monday afternoon card at Finger Lakes. Up first will be 3-year-olds and up. Allowance race for non-winners of one state bred race going 6.
3, 5, 6, and 2. The number 3 is Avenging Spirit. You know, I said it plenty of times before, just getting that venue class relief coming up from the NYRA circuit. The NYRA runners tend to just have a little bit of an edge when they get up to Finger Lakes. The numbers have an edge. Now, all of that said, the past couple of starts were on turf. They were also back in June and July. So you have a surface switch and you have a long layoff. But we go back to May, an off-the-turf event. That was a win with a solid buyer figure. So I don't think the surface switch is going to be a question mark. And again, the layoff with the class relief on the move from NYRA, I think Avenging Spirit is going to run well in here today. 9-2 on the morning line. I'm not sure that's going to hold up because I think everybody's kind of tuned into the fact that those NYRA shippers tend to run very, very well up here at Finger Lakes. So Avenging Spirit, put that one on top. We'll hope for the 9-2. Second spot, the 9-5 morning line favorite, French Onion Soup. That 92 buyer figure, 2 starts back, just stands out. Now, that was off a late summer layoff. First start back, ran very well. Next time out on November 6th, we had an okay second, but boy, the buyer figure dipped 16 points to a level that I think is more where this horse is. So that buyer 2 starts back, was that for real, or was that a little bit of an aberration and maybe just an inflated number? Either way, I think French Onion Soup fits with this bunch and is going to be there up in the hunt, particularly in the good form it's in right now. Third spot, the number 6, Peter's Project. Another one of those horses that hits the exacta far more often than not. 6 times first or second in 8 starts in the career. So this is a horse that's in some pretty good form and likes to get the picture taken. Also, don't forget, this is another race where there's a lot of speed in here. Early on, if that speed is playing the way it did last Monday, you know, the horse I have in the 4th spot, Southern Rocket, shows some speed. Horses I don't have in my mix, like the 1 Timothy's Boy, the 1A Bristol Harbor, also show some speed. If speed, and that was what was tough for me last week. The track was playing to speed, very conducive to speed, but at that point it becomes almost a jockey's game, and you've got to be a mind reader. You got to have the crystal ball. Who's going to go out there and make that push for the front, and is somebody going to then go out and challenge? And that, you just, like I say, it's a crystal ball kind of a situation. So if it is playing to speed, as strongly as it was last Monday, this horse really, this race becomes kind of a crapshoot. But hopefully, again, things are playing fairly. In that case, 3, 5, 6, and 2.
On to the finale, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, allowance, non-winners at 3, lifetime, racing 6.
I have this one 5, 1, 3, and 4. Now, I'm perfectly happy if the track is playing to speed, and my number 5, it will still be my top pick because this one does show some nice speed. However, this one has been stuck in a bridesmaid role for a while, but it's been going well lately. I'm hoping we can get a breakthrough. Now, this is a horse that in 12 career starts, 5 seconds and only 2 wins, and 3 of those second-place finishes have been in the last 3 starts. But I think the numbers are pretty good. And again, some nice early speed. If the track plays to that, 9 loves could prove to be interesting in here. Second spot, we will go with the number 1, Jupiter Moon. Might prove tough on the front end. This is another one with some early speed, and from the rail, probably has to be sent. So again, I think my top pick has some speed. My second pick has some speed. Which jockey is going to go out and take hold of the race, and will the other one then go out and challenge? That becomes the question mark. But I have a couple of jockeys on board that are doing very well at the meet, so I'd expect them both to be up there and hopefully not burn each other out. And then Debbie's Limit. 5-1 on the morning line. I wouldn't argue with somebody that took a shot here. I think the buyer figure will have to jump up slightly, but I think that's possible. This horse made the move from Monmouth to Finger Lakes, took advantage of that venue class relief last time. At 11-1, they let this one sneak away and won off by a better part of 2 lengths. So the buyer figure, as I say, might be just a touch light as compared to the rest of this field, but ran as well as it had to last time, so I don't know whether we saw the ceiling. So I think Debbie's Limit at 5-1, again, becomes very, very interesting in here, having shown a nice affinity for the Finger Lakes racetrack on the move from Monmouth last time. So keep that one in mind, certainly if those morning line odds hold up. The 9th and finale today at Finger Lakes, 5, 1, 3, and 4.
And that wraps up a look at Finger Lakes. Remember, just including today, 11 racing cards, and they're not running on Thanksgiving at Finger Lakes, which is usually a fun day of racing. I've talked about this from time to time. In my youth, used to run in the Detroit Turkey Trot, and I used to remember before the Fall Highway, which makes a lot of sense, was the staple on Thanksgiving. It used to be the Queens County, which was a very nice personal flag won it one year, nice mile and 3/16, and the Turkey Trot used to go right past the Lansingburg Capital Off-Track Betting Parlor.
So you went in?
I didn't go in. I would go back later because the race was early in the morning, but they always ran an early post in New York. So there was always plenty of action. I mean, it's a great day.
That'd be the best part of the story. If you were in the middle of the race, you had your bib on.
The bib on, right? Let me get the late double going. But, yeah, so that Thanksgiving, a great day of racing. They've always done the right thing. They run the card early. They run it pretty quick. Everybody gets home. You won't have to race this afternoon. Let's take a look at Monday action on the network, kicking off with Finger Lakes with their 12:15 post, followed by Parks, Monticello, Beulah underway, Zia Park, Turf Paradise, Dover Downs, Northfield, Pompano, and Yonkers Raceway later on this evening. Also, invite you to go to capitalotb.com. If you miss any of Seth or my selections, you click on the Handicappers Report, the Today model, and you'll get all of those selections. And later on this afternoon, you will get tomorrow's selections for the Handicappers Report. And a new face tomorrow, Seth. You know, go gentle. Don't be late tomorrow. We don't want our new colleague being here. To
tell you the truth,
you're on, Mike.
To tell you the truth, I had an early start today because of the funny weather this weekend.
All right, sleep here tomorrow.
I just had a feeling it was going to be funny today.
One of those
so I left probably about 15 minutes earlier than I usually leave. But like I say, it was a parking lot before you got to the Schenectady. But yeah, Mike Jarbo from the Times
Make the
Union
new guy feel at home. Don't have him sitting here going, "Where's? What do you mean? What do you mean go? You're on. What do you mean you're on?"
Even though we at Capital OTB got the better of the Times Union crew at the Saratoga meet this year, we're going to let Mike Jarbo on the set. Although that said, we got up to the big start at the meet and then just held on over the last weekend.
They don't ask by how much, they ask how. So we got to be also capitalotbbet.com, the latest wagering platform for capital off-track betting. And as we have said, if you've come across any questions, please write us, viewer mail at capitalotb.com. And as we collect them, and if we see a singular couple of points resurface, we will address them. But it seems as if many of the kinks for nearly everybody must be washed out because we have not gotten a tap on the shoulder to address anything. But there's no time limit, folks. Just as Seth said, you know, you sign up. It's like anything new, but once you get through it, trust us, it's easier on the other side. Racing across America, who we have kicking off the week?
Today we're going to go back. Catskill Steve Turjanian joined me for the first time this season, talking a little Monticello Raceway. We got plenty of harness fans, Capital OTB patrons, so we talked a little harness. But last week he went 2 for 3, so back. We'll get Steve back in, talk a little Monticello. Joe Clancy, because, of course, there was the Colonial Cup
Big
this
upset.
weekend.
What's that do?
We hoped that it would settle the Eclipse Award, but just threw things into absolute disarray. So we'll talk a little Colonial Cup, but then wrap up the steeplechase season with Joe. And then at the bottom of the hour, again, Don Stevens from Delta Downs. We had him on Friday previewing the Delta Downs jackpot card, and we'll do a little recap of the stakes races there, and we'll talk about the jackpot itself. Rise Up, the winner there, and we mentioned it's a quirky track. Rise Up had a prep race, won a stakes leading into this, so did have a race over the track. That was probably beneficial. And Rise Up, pretty good record. One blemish, the race at Churchill Downs. That can't make them too happy with that.
No.
With a promising 2-year-old if he hasn't run well at Churchill.
No, I mean, we're going to have the Kentucky Jockey Club race coming up next weekend, and you like to think it's a barometer, mile 16, 2 turns and everything, but I think when I was a boy, I think Cannonade did it, and then it was like 35 years later before the next horse did it. So you're right, you don't want to run the blemish, but it could have been anything. The horse could have been just off the feed that day. I'm sure they're happy that I would think if they had their druthers, they'd take stubbing your toe at Churchill Downs in September and getting the $1 million Delta jackpot in the saddle. Now, unlike
the fact of the matter is, they are
unlike years
at this
before.
point $600,000 in the bank off of this Saturday race. They're better off now than, what do you think, like 99.5% of the horses out there?
Maybe even more. I mean, we think of all the horses in running, they score out. And unlike the old days, the one thing about the Delta jackpot, it used to be run later in the year. You also used to run at night, but you were guaranteed a spot in the Kentucky Derby if you wanted it. Now, most years, it didn't work out. They never got to the Kentucky Derby, but things changed last year, and that change continues forward. Now, a quick thing before we get out of here and racing across America, Tris, they didn't tweak it at all, did they, the Kentucky Derby thing? We talked about last year with the type of tweaking.
They did make an early those September 2-year-old races got tossed in. And did they give more points to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? They did a minor,
very minor,
tweak.
yeah. Their 2 races got prep races, but the Illinois Derby didn't get helped. They really didn't change it anyway. Because we were talking all last year. I sort of like the system, but we'll see. But they haven't tweaked it. Up next, racing across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.